And hello again, and welcome into another episode of the Earl Hall Show. We have a great show for you on today. We have an extremely special guest. It is my honor to welcome Cyrus Webb to the show today. He's a powerhouse in the world of media, publishing, and inspiration. Cyrus is a renowned radio and on-air personality. He's the editor-in-chief of multiple magazines, including Conversations magazine, and a best-selling author. No, so many books, you can't even count them. Right? Over the past 2 decades, he's interviewed over 12,000 guests on his Conversations Live radio show, built an internationally recognized brand, and made an impact through his Amazon Live shows and top-rated publications. Cyrus is also a recipient of the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award and continues to inspire through his books and work in the arts. Please join me in welcoming my friend, Cyrus Webb. How are you doing, sir?
Doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me, Earl. Really appreciate it. And thanks for the introduction.
Man, well, it wasn't even enough. I mean, there's so much out there that you've accomplished and done, which is utterly amazing over the past 20 years. Even saying that, Mr. Webb, I mean, you're a person that is extremely busy, right? Your schedule is insane. What has that actually meant to you to have to have sacrificed, maybe even on the personal side, or is it even a sacrifice?
I love that. So this is what I would say is it has been an absolute joy. I have grown with my brand, which is, I think, the most exciting part of it all. As someone who was nerdy and just was trying to figure it out, I realized that's how life is. We're all just trying to figure it out. It's just so happened I've been able to connect with people, empower people, inspire people along the way. So it has definitely been a joy of mine, and it's been worth any sacrifice that I've had.
It seems to me that you take great pleasure in helping others. I see that, as a friend of yours, I see it as even a client of yours, that heart is there for you to actually help. How does it make you feel, or what does it mean to you to see the people that you are helping grow?
It makes me feel good. That's what everything's about for me. I mean, it is, I know what it's like to be the ruddy one in the group. I know what it's like to be the one that people don't expect much of. I know what it's like to feel like you're in a sea where no one can see you, or that what you do doesn't matter. So I like the fact that I've been able to not only to achieve some measure of success for myself, but also to empower other people to see what's possible for them. So anytime there's any wins whatsoever with those that I work with, I celebrate with them, but also encourage them to do it too. Because I think one of the hardest things for people, and I've seen this in my life, I'm about to be 50, and people will focus on their negatives more than they will their positives. And I think that is what the world has done because the world has used that as a form of control. I have what I call my 8 mile moments where I will, before you can say anything about me, I'll put it out there myself and then say, what else you got? I mean, because I think a lot of times we get our eye off the ball of what we've done on the road of life. So when I'm able to remind people, look, okay, maybe you haven't done this, but look at what you have achieved. That to me is the biggest blessing in the world.
Excellent. I mean, you mentioned something there. I know you love playing the underdog. You love being underestimated, and then you just pull back from behind. Where do you think that comes from? You just enjoying that position?
I think it's because other people see that as a weakness. And they don't realize, even going back to the Bible, the way that Satan was able to manipulate was the way that he came to Eve. And I think a lot of times people don't realize that the one that you think, oh, that's not really a big deal. You don't have to worry about that one. That's the exact reason why the hare lost to the tortoise. And so for me, I've always embraced that. And even though I say that out loud repeatedly, you've heard me talk about this, people still don't get it because they don't believe it, even though the proof is there, right? So I will continue to be that person, that country boy from Mississippi, with no college education and no broadcasting. I will continue to be that as I continue to make my spot in the media world.
As a leader now of a quote unquote team of people and helping them to build their brand in business, What do you think has been the thing that has kind of really helped you become that leader that you are now? Because over the years, you've changed over the years just how you see things in business. How have those changes come about, and how has it formed you into the person that you've become today?
I think it goes to when I reference movies and television shows all the time,
Or every now
and
and then you may. Yeah.
one of the characters that really has gotten me is Jean Grey in the Phoenix, and it's always a precarious role because I think the one that was the safest of all the ones we've seen has been Halle Berry's version, of Storm, where Storm is able to do small things and then do major things. But with Jean Grey, the extremes are a lot bigger, right? And so, and I think for myself, what I've had to learn is I used to be afraid of it because I've always known I had something, but I used to be afraid of it because I was afraid I would misuse it. And then what I've learned is like Charles Xavier had to help Jean Grey to understand that you can find that balance. And so that's what's helped me to not be afraid of going full Phoenix, but to find that balance where I can do what I need to do, and still need to heat things up when I need to, but not feel like I have to scorch the earth in doing it.
Absolutely. You are one that does like to reference movies. I think you've referenced two here. You mentioned 8 Mile. I don't know if everybody got that reference, but 8 Mile, the Eminem movie about his life and how he became a rapper and things of that nature, and got picked on and talked about, and just used that to help him get to where he needed to be. And now also Phoenix, from the X-Men, using that reference. It's interesting to me how you see films, because even in our conversations a lot, you reference movies, you reference TV shows, you reference books. You have this amazing memory, this amazing recall. Where does and how does that come about, where you're able to use films, books, and movies and TV shows to impact your life in such a way that it does not seem like other people get those same messages?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. And so this is what I've had to realize, Earl. My mind works differently. And I've said to you and I've said to other people, I'm sure there's a diagnosis for it, but that's always been the case for me. Literally since I was a child. That has always been the way I am. I don't look at things for entertainment purposes, even though I can be entertained by things. I Everything to me is part of life's class. So if I'm spending my time watching something, reading something, and I understand when people say they look for something to get away from, I look for something to get into that I can use. Because even in fiction, I found that, like in, what I mentioned with the X-Men. But I talk about Inception all the I mean,
Yeah.
there are things that are entertaining, but they also are edutainment to me. And that's how I'm kind of able to do it. I think that's why I can be such a voracious reader and consume so much, because it's not just, and remember, because I'm not only thinking about things I may be talking about with a guest, but things I can say, okay, Cyrus, this is a character you can be like, or this is someone you don't want to be like. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the way it's been, but it literally is something I've had all my life.
Wow. And it's one of those things, and that is a different way of looking at a lot, because I don't think a lot of people look at movies to get life lessons, even though a lot of times we do. And the way your mind works is definitely different in many areas. Even when I talk with you about how you're able to connect dots in business and see how this is going to lead to that. How are you able to connect so many dots to success, not just for you, but for your clients as well?
I love this question, and the answer is very simple. I have always looked at the long game. I've never looked at short term success, short term anything. When I was younger, I told people I was going to be an artist and an author. That was always what I knew. Now, how I was going to get there, I didn't know that part. But I knew that if that was the thing, that's what I had to be working toward. I think what happens with people, Earl, is that they say they want something, but then their actions are like this. The thing is here, but they're all over the place, right? When I'm able to say, this is what's going to be, everything I do is intentional to get there. Other people may not see it, but I realize, okay, I need to put this over here. This needs to be moved over here. I need to wait for this because I know what the big thing is. I think that's what happens with people. They say they have a goal, but what they really have is a momentary illusion of what they want, but not the action to get there. For me, everything is intentional. You've heard me say that a lot. Everything I
Everything's
do,
a thing.
there's a reason why I do it. And so I think for me, that has really helped me. Again, that comes with a lot of focus. That comes with sacrifice too, because that means I have to forego things that other people may be enjoying or may feel like is the way in order to get it. But I have the satisfaction because I know that every day is an opportunity to get me closer to it.
I think too, just because I know you as, we know each other as well as we do, you see this on many occasions as a chess game or some sort of enjoyment in a game that you're allowing things to come to fruition, and you see those moves. And knowing that you are a chess player and, from a very early age, you told me that story. How is it that this stays so incredibly enjoyable for you each and every day?
Well, I've said to you before, and I've said it to other people, Earl, every day to me starts at 0.
Okay.
I had an amazing day yesterday. Well, I've actually had an amazing day already today. But the point for me is when I wake up, I see that as a reset. And that's why the first thing you'll notice on my to-do list, the first thing you see before I do my news in the morning is I have on there reset. Because what I do is I say, okay, yesterday was what it was. It's time for me to refocus and think about today. Because I think what happens where I do have a leg up on some people is that they are so focused on what wasn't or what they didn't get done. I look at every day as an opportunity. But I want to say something too that may be controversial, and this is something that can be a challenge for some because of ego. They may have done something back in 1979 that was amazing. And that's what they hang their hat on. But it's 2025. So my question is, what have you done since then? It's great you had that moment. And that's why every day for me is that I never want to be the person who said, on January the 5th, I was able to do, okay, but what did you do today? That's really what matters, because that's the moment that we have. Whatever you did or didn't do is gone. That's in the past. How are you showing up today? And so for me, no matter what has happened yesterday, Earl, I'm showing up today like day one, like bring it. This is my reset. And let's see what happens from there.
Awesome. We're here with best-selling author, media personality, and the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award winner, Mr. Cyrus Webb. We're going to take a short break. We're going to be right back. Are you ready to share your story with an audience eager to learn from your journey? Welcome to the Earl Hall Show, the podcast where entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, and creatives share their unique insights and experiences. With over 15,000 subscribers on YouTube and episodes promoted on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, your story will reach an engaged and growing audience. As a guest, you'll join me for a 20-minute pre-recorded video interview aired every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Book your spot now for just $49. This offer won't last long. The Earl Hall Show. Your story deserves to be heard. In today's fast-paced world, success often feels like a numbers game. Bank accounts, titles, prestige. But what if true success went deeper than that? I'm Earl Hall, author of Mind Your Business, a new book that invites you to look beyond just profiles and into what really drives you as an entrepreneur. Mind Your Business isn't just about making money. It's about understanding your purpose, overcoming self-doubt, and cultivating a mindset that's resilient and grounded. I've built this book on hard-earned insights, stories from my journey, and lessons from other entrepreneurs like you. This book will help you shift your perspective, ignite your passion, and align your business with what truly matters. So, if you're ready to redefine success, Mind Your Business is available. Let's take this journey together. Grab your copy and start building a business and a life that reflects your true self. And welcome back into the Earl Hall Show. We're still here with the amazing Mr. Cyrus Webb. Cyrus, you have, even as I started at the top of the show, an amazing career and journey, a way of thinking about so many different things. 2024 was an amazing year for you. What are some of those highlights for you that have really impacted you from 2024?
There was a lot, but I will
There's a lot,
say,
I know, and you
yeah.
got to think, I know.
So here's the thing, and I'm appreciative for everyone, but I will tell you what the biggest achievement was up here. I started in January 2024 with a totally new mindset. I knew from how my 2023 was what was coming. My MO in life, both personally and professionally, has been to flee from things that scare me or to try to pump the brakes. At the end of 2023, though, I really started with a new attitude, and that was an attitude of acceptance. I knew that I wasn't going to stop doing anything I was doing. What I said when I went into 2024 was that I was going to embrace everything that came from that work. Before I would see something coming, like, whoa, I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. And I would slow it down. When I started in January 2024, I was running right into it. So that was the biggest thing. Ironically, because I started January 2024 with that, in November, when I received the Trailblazer Award of the Year from Raw, in Alexandria, Virginia, a place I'd never even been before. And then in December, when I received, as you mentioned, the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award in Fayetteville, North Carolina, I was ready. I was ready. And so I could not have been ready for what happened with those two things if I had not started the year off with a new mindset.
Awesome. And that leads actually to my next question here. Obviously, an amazing 2024. 2025 is starting off great for you and as well as your clients as well. How is 2025 already surpassing 2024 for you?
Yeah, so I have words that to me are typically my keys. 2023 was a power year. 2024 was a money year. 2025 is an influence year. And, it's no coincidence for anyone who's taken any classes from me that the classes are called Embrace Your Influence. That's what I'm doing in 2025. Whether it's coming from my work with Amazon and Amazon partners, whether it's coming from my work with my clients, my work in media, my work in broadcasting. I'm embracing all the aspects of my influence in those areas to channel it into what I'm building with CMG. So that is the big thing, and it's already happening. Less than 10 days into this year, and it's only going to continue to grow. Already set to receive the Shepherd's Award March 1st in Atlanta, Georgia, which is only going to lead to
Hmm.
more things. Also in March, speaking at the Chicago Writers Association. This is the second time they invited me back and added classes because of the success of my classes last year on talking about marketing and influence and social media. So I'm doing in-person events this year. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts, but it all focuses on that one word of influence.
Absolutely. So many of the different conversations that we've had, and I don't want people to get scared of this next question. It may sound political, but it's not, and you'll see what I mean. But Cyrus, we've learned so much from watching the past presidential debate about social media and traditional media. We've also learned from the recent release of the stage play now movie Wicked. What are people missing, business owners in particular, about the use of social media and how important it is for their businesses?
I've been thinking about this a lot because I had a recent conversation with someone I respect a lot. And I realized I had such a level of empathy for them, but also sympathy for them. Because I'll tell you what I realized, and I think you will agree with this and probably some of your audience. People are still treating new media and social media like that kid they try to shoo out of the room when grown people are talking. They don't understand that that child is now the smartest in the room. And I think what has happened is that is where the attention is. That's what makes social media what it is. That's what makes it so powerful. Now, there will be some, as there were in older generations, who did not want to let go of their radio when TV came in. They didn't want to let go of their newspaper. But I think we're seeing more and more that if you do not embrace these things, you will not only be left behind, you can forget about growing because the growth is happening over there. So it's almost like, the nerdy kid, I can relate to the nerdy kid, the
Yes.
pretty girl that, bypasses the nerdy kid and wants to jock, realizing that the jock isn't going to be there in the end. It's going to be that nerdy kid that's going to be the one that people are going to be driving their attention to. That's what I think people are missing. I think people, like you mentioned, Wicked. I am, again, someone who is edutainment for me because the story of Wicked is fascinating. But for people who don't even know the story, you cannot deny Wicked because it's everywhere. You go to the store, it's there. So they're understanding the importance of that impact, but then they're channeling it all through media. So that's what I think people are missing. And I think in 2025, I already, again, because this is my year of influence, I already know a lot of that's going to come from social. But if you look at what Wicked has done so well, Earl, they've been able to take that off of social and make it material in products, in services, in literally people leaving their house and going to the movie theater, even now that it is now available at home. Wicked was still in the top 5 this past week, even though it's now available at home. People were still wanting to go for that experience of other people. Why? Because Wicked released a new sing-along version, and they wanted that
Yeah.
experience. How did we find out about that? We found out about it through social media. You know what I'm saying? So I think that is the part that people are missing. That kid that you're shooing out of the room saying, this is a conversation for grown people. You don't realize for growing your business, you're going to need that kid to be sitting right there with you and you listening to them. There's a reason why Jesus at 12 years old was able to teach, those older men, and they were able to listen and learn something from him. I think we have to stop thinking that this thing is a novelty and realize now that it is a part of life that we can't deny.
Yeah, it's not the fad that's going to go away like people were talking about in the 90s, even into the early 2000s, with that. Cyrus, what do you think your greatest strength is and how has it served you in your work?
I like that question. Okay. You know what? My greatest strength is not being afraid to fail because that makes me unstoppable. The mistake that people make is that when they get knocked down or pushed down, a lot of times they will stay there either out of embarrassment or a belief that that means their best days are behind them. There's nothing, and that again it ties into what I said earlier, Earl, about waking up at 0. I'm starting at 0 every day anyway. So even if something did not go well for me, you better believe I'm not bringing it into the next day. That
Okay.
is, I think, my biggest strength. The fact that you knocking me down or me not getting an interview or me not getting invited to something is going to stop me. No, I would just build my own. That's just what
Yes.
that's what I do. That's my MO. I don't care if you tell me no. That it just means that you're going to be the one missing out, not me. So I think for myself, that is my biggest strength. Not being afraid of failure, not being afraid of no, and not thinking that because something didn't happen yesterday that it's over.
Absolutely. And that's so powerful. To be able to do that. All the things that you've said, even, especially about starting from 0 every day, playing the underdog or being the underdog, not minding being the underdog and being underestimated, and just pressing forward, starting from 0 every day and doing what needs to get done and not looking back. But if you could actually go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
So actually, it would not be from me. My grandmother, I had this dream, I'll call it that, after my grandmother died 10 years ago. And she literally, in the dream, she came and sat on my bed and she said to me, "You're going to be great, but don't let it go to your head." I have always been told I was going to be great. Even as a child, my grandmother told me that. So it was ironic that that's a dream I had, but it was almost like I was remembering something from before. You know what I'm saying? Because I remember my grandmother saying to me as a child, "You can be anything you want." And I said, "Anything?" And she said, "If you worked hard and put God first, yes, you can be anything." That is always, like, I'm able to remember things. I always
Hmm.
remember that. But the reason why I bring up the 2014 dream is because there is that caveat. I don't want to become Icarus.
Okay.
And I think it's so easy for us to believe our own hype sometimes, which is again why I started zero. I don't wake up with my head like this, even though some people will say that I do. I don't wake up with my head like this. I really
Some
wake
people will
up
say.
in a feeling of, okay, let's do this today. And I think that is what keeps me grounded. That's what keeps me humble. And it's what keeps me focused.
The way that you've been able to put together this CMG, we'll just call it that, Conversations Media Group, and the plans that you have already laid out, the things that you've accomplished, and the things that you're planning on doing are mighty to me. They're extremely impressive. How can people, because I don't know if a lot of people know everything that you do, from being a media personality, editor in chief of a magazine, but a lot of people are coming to you now for your expertise in the business realm. People are starting to call you a coach. How is that making you feel?
Well, okay, so here's the thing, Earl. I think we all are coaches.
Okay.
I think we all have our respective things that someone can learn from. But I also think all of us are students too. And I'm very comfortable in both at this point. I tell people in my classes, I know what I know. And things I don't know, I'm not afraid to ask. I think that's one of the biggest disservices people do is when they don't know something, they try to pretend like they do because they don't want to be seen as being someone
Right.
who doesn't know. But what you're really doing is robbing yourself of an opportunity to actually learn something that you can use and then share with other people. I think my being called a coach is something I can accept. Again, going into that acceptance, because I know the things I know. I know what have served me, and I'm willing to share that. I do that though with the caveat, and I've said this to you recently, that not doesn't mean you can do what I do, doesn't mean you will have the exact outcome, but it will put you on the path to be able to do what is meant for you to do and become.
I mean, being among your clients, I mean, we affectionately talk about how you encourage us to comply with certain things. Your words, not mine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That sounds about right.
I think this goes, and the reason I kind of say that tongue in cheek because it goes back to your leadership ability and the words that you say to people carry weight. How are you finding it, accepting that, and realizing that your words today carry the weight that they carry for so many people?
Yeah, that goes to again that responsibility and the message of my grandmother. And I think which is why I'm very careful. I've said to you before, even before this year, I've said before, there it gives too about the whole Phoenix thing. Because you want to be able to light the way, you don't want to torch it. You want to be able to light a fire in someone and not destroy them. And that was what Jean Grey had to realize how to do, right? And I think again, we have to realize the same fire that can light a candle can also torch a house. You know what I'm saying? So for
Yeah,
me, I'm always mindful of what I say. How I say it sometimes can be objective, but it's
sometimes.
always for the mission of empowering, for pouring
Mm-hmm.
into, not to try to consume you. Now I can consume,
Mm-hmm.
but again, that goes to being able to measure that so that you can be able to get the desired result. And for me, that desired result, Earl, is for someone to be a better version of themselves.
Amazing. Cyrus, how do people get in touch with you if they want to work with you? Like, where are you sending folks today?
Well, you know what? There's this thing called the internet. That's
Boy,
no, cyruswebb.com is my link tree that pretty much will get you everything you need to do. I'm on almost all the socials. You can find me at Cyrus Webb. There's only one that there's no post for me on. So if you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, you're on Threads, you're on X, LinkedIn, you will find me there.
Cyrus, thank you so much for taking this time to do this interview with me today. It has definitely been my honor to have you on the Earl Hall Show.
Well, Earl, if I can just say, the honor was mine, and I want to thank you for the great questions, and thank you for your support, for your friendship. Earl is someone who I've had a deep respect for over a decade because of his work ethic, and I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for that kudos. I have to cut out that clip and replay that for you when you're messing with me one day. But the friendship is definitely appreciated. We started off as friends. We're still friends, and the friends, happened before the business. So it's been a good, we're going on 2 decades now at this point. But
Yeah.
this has been good, and I definitely appreciate you and honor you and love you, man. Definitely
Love
do.
you too, man.
So thank you
Appreciate you.
once again for being on the show. Appreciate it.